Growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook.
My gosh, if you're going to make the effort, you might as well go for the home run. You might as well hit it out of the park as opposed to just trying to get to first base.
Right.
And I think that's the difference between success and uber success. Getting to base is great, but then you're relying on somebody else to come again and get you to the second base. Or why not rely on yourself and say, I believe enough in myself, and maybe you won't get that home run, but you have that knowledge like, oh my gosh, that was great. Now, how can I do that better next time?
One of my absolute favorite things to do is hear and see the wins that our own community members have. What's really great is we have these communities like our All Access Pass and SPI Pro where people often post these wins. And one person in particular recently, her name is Julie DeLucca-Collins. She posted that she just landed a TEDx talk, which is a huge deal. But it's not even as big as a deal as I thought it was. And after talking with her today about how she landed this TEDx talk, I discovered that there's a lot more layers involved that led to actually make this happen. And it's not just the first failed attempt and how she changed her messaging. And these are all lessons that we can all learn about what we have to offer too. But it stems even deeper. It even stems to who we are as people. And I think this is going to be a really important episode for you to listen to because Julie brings a lot of greatness into this. She brings a lot of sports analogies, which are always good, some of my favorite. But more than that, just some truth about what it takes to really succeed and find true success, not just like micro success, but uber success in your way, your definition of success for you. And it starts with who are you and what values do you have? And we talk about that. We get deep. There's no surprise why Julie has a successful coaching program because she helps other women through a lot of these same things that we talk about today. And she is able to help you today too, let alone tell us what it is like behind the scenes to actually apply for and sit in a virtual waiting room for 3 hours until it's your turn to audition. Yes, there's actually auditions for TEDx in certain places. Anyway, there's a whole process, and she's going to tell you all about it. But here she is, Julie DeLucca-Collins from GoConfidentlyCoaching.com. You're going to love it. Here she is.
You're listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network, a show that's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He was on the news when he was 10 years old for a fire that happened at his elementary school, Pat Flynn.
Running a business means legal questions are inevitable. Is this contract or agreement solid? What can I do if a client won't pay me? Am I set up properly for taxes? Well, rather than trying to navigate all of this on your own or searching endlessly online, imagine having a law firm on your side without the high hourly rates. That's exactly what Legal Shield's small business plans offer. With Legal Shield, entrepreneurs get access to real legal support, contract reviews, collection letters, guidance on business formation, and even help handling IRS audits. Members can book consultations, upload documents through the app, and work with a provider law firm that understands small business laws in your state. You also get proactive help on tax and trademark questions so you can stay ahead of legal risks. And if a client delays payment, Legal Shield can send professional collection letters to help you recover what you're owed, all for a fraction of what traditional attorneys charge. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Still using a copy-paste website? Break the template trap with Framer. Whether you're overwhelmed by traditional site builders or frustrated with cookie-cutter designs, Framer gives you the freedom to create a site that's professional, polished, and uniquely yours. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. It's free to start, allowing you to browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something on your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, parallax scrolling, scroll animations, looping animations, and much more in seconds. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting, generating starter layouts, and can even translate your entire site to any language. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Julie, I'm just so excited to chat with you and have you tell us your story and really get into the TED Talk. And I'm so curious about that because I've never done one myself. So I'm going to selfishly just ask, like, how did you do that? Like, what's that like? And are you nervous and all that kind of stuff? It hasn't happened yet, right?
It hasn't happened yet. No.
Okay.
But
So
my
you're right in the middle of
soon.
like the prep work and stuff.
Yeah. My script is due on the and I'm love to talk about it. That's a really fun thing. So
cool.
And
cool.
look,
Well,
I'm wearing
we'll
your
save
shirt,
all that then.
except you can't really see it.
Oh, I love it. I haven't seen the pink one yet.
Thank you. I love the pink.
That's great. I need to get one actually. So yeah, this will be fun, casual, just chill. And I look forward to learning more about you and kind of promoting your business at the same time. And we'll just make it a win for everybody.
Thank you so much. I am just honored, excited. I have to say, I have to find the journal because I put that when I was still working corporate and I was trying to pitch to my company that we should launch a podcast because I was listening to you. This is 2015. And they're like, I don't even know what that is. I put it on my journal that I wanted to be on a show with you. So I was like, yeah, there we go.
Wow,
so
full circle.
Check off.
Here we are. Well, congrats on everything
you.
that you've been doing and continue to accomplish. And I remember when you made the announcement inside of SPI Pro that you had this TED Talk, like that's a huge accomplishment. That's not available for everybody. It's something that you have to apply for, I know, but there's so many things about it that I don't know about. So we'll talk a lot about how you landed that and kind of you're in the middle of the prep work for it now. And I'm just like, what is involved with that? And we'll get into that, but I'd love to know a little bit more about how you led up to that. Like what do you do and how did you even get into that in the first place?
Okay, so I am a business strategy coach, Tiny Habits certified.
Yep.
I have been a speaker since I was a little girl. I've had a microphone in my hand. My grandmother owned a school in El Salvador. So I was always told that I was a leader and I never had a problem getting in front of people to talk. I'm a usual very outgoing person. When I left corporate America, I knew that I wanted to make an impact and I knew that I wanted to serve women and help them grow in confidence. And for me, also meant continuing to do stuff that I felt was aligned with my values. And one of the things is that I am very opinionated. And I know that I have a lot of perspective and interesting different perspective from what others may be. Mm-hmm. And I knew the TEDx was the place for me to add my 2 cents to the global conversations on so many different things. And confidence, inclusion is one of them. Also, the whole level of consistent action, getting you the traction that you need for life. I think that there's so many things in my life that I haven't been able to accomplish, and that's because I haven't been as consistent as I would like to be. There's also areas in my life in which I have been really successful at, but that's because I surrounded myself with the right resources, the right people. I love learning. And at times I have to remind myself it's not about the learning, it's about the doing, because that can get on the way of doing things. So when I launched my business, I didn't have necessarily TEDx on my sites, but I did know that speaking was going to be a part of it. And of course, we launched the podcast, which, you saw my husband, who's my co-host and producer and everything else. And as I continued to put my message out there, then I thought, you know what, I do want to do a TEDx. And it was like, I am not Brene Brown. And for a good year and a half of my business, I had it in my goal list and I would write it mostly every day. New York Times bestseller and TEDx are there. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to be a New York Times bestseller. I just want to launch a book. And I sort of like brought that down, but TEDx continued to show up on there. And there was something about the fact that the people that I admire the most have been on that stage. And I thought, if I can just share my perspective with others, maybe the little girl that grew up with a single mom that maybe was struggling and didn't see anybody like her in her circle would say, oh, I can do that too. And I have nieces. I have a niece who is 10, and my other nieces who are in their 20s and 30s I love. But the 10-year-old, I also want her specifically to know that anything that she can do is possible. And I keep reminding myself that it's not just for me, but it's for the ones who are coming behind that got me on this track to TEDx.
I love what you said about the fact that you have an opinion. And I think that's something that a lot more creators have to have. We have to have opinions. We have to have something like a spicy take or a specific angle on something, or else we just blend in with everybody else. What are
100%.
the specific opinions that you have or spicy takes that you have that might end up in the TED Talk and make you and your brand you?
Okay. So number one, I am a big proponent of being outspoken. I think that when I was in corporate America, Pat, one of the biggest things that I struggle with is that I always had something to say. And at times when you are working for somebody else, when you're in a company, you sort of have to censor in a way.
Right.
And
you're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah. I remember when Facebook came about, and that's when I first got my big promotion. And I'm an open book, honestly. I'd love to share my ideas, my thoughts. And when Facebook came about, I was told you should get off of that because you're a senior executive and you could get fired from posting on Facebook. And I thought, well, I'm not posting anything that is controversial, but I am going to speak out if I see an injustice. I am going to share maybe my perspective on it, because sometimes if we don't share the perspective, someone may not ever hear that perspective. And it's not necessarily you're sharing it to sway people, but you're sharing it to be true to who you are, to stay true to your values and what's important to you. And I think that you have to stand for something.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think a lot of people worry, especially online, when they are outspoken, because there are mobs out there, people and trolls and haters. What's your advice to somebody, young or old, who wants to be outspoken, who has something to say, but is perhaps a little bit afraid to say it?
I'm going to tell you something that it's not original to me. I heard that somewhere, and it was advice somebody else gave, and I adopted it into my life, and it's don't read the comments. I will comment on things that people usually comment for me, but when I see a negative comment, I don't read it or read into it, because I really believe that people may leave you, maybe a troll, people may be attacking you, but number one, they don't know you. And that's easier said than done. I still struggle when people say, oh, look at that or whatever. I still question that that's innate, that I'm a human being. But I want to rather focus on the person that said, wow, great job, that's amazing, rather than the person that says, oh, who the heck do you think you are to do that? Right. And don't read the comments or just scroll past the comments and know that that person is not in your living room. That person hasn't done what you wanted to do. That person maybe is in a difficult situation themselves, and they're saying that to you because that's what they're saying to themselves. And I think that that's the first thing that I want people to consider.
I love that. Okay, so be outspoken. That's a big part of your platform, and I'm sure you coach and help others do that, which is amazing. What else is a unique take that you have, Julie, as far as your platform and what you have to share and offer?
Well, one of the biggest things that is a unique take, perhaps to me, is that you have to go confidently, and you have to, that's the name of my business, Go Confidently Services. And it comes from the quote, go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you have imagined. And in order for us to live the life you have imagined, you have to put one foot in front of the other. And confidence doesn't come because you're born with it. It doesn't come because someone told you you're great. It doesn't come because many of those things that people assume build confidence. Confidence comes from the action that you take in the face of fear, in the face of uncertainty, in the face of even the long road ahead. And I think that this is the one thing that many people, fake it till you make it is not necessarily what I'm talking about, but it's about knowing that today I'm just going to get up and I'm going to put one foot, or I'm going to do the one thing that I didn't do before. I'm going to do that 1%. And we talk about this all the time in these circles, the compounding effect. But confidence comes from building the evidence that we can, as opposed to sitting in the uncertainty or in the thought that I can't, because we've never tried it. Of course, I'm not a baseball player. I'm not Babe Ruth. Yeah, I'm sure if I had, yes, there's a level of skill, there's a level of commitment, but then there's a level of showing up, and then there's a level of also failing. And confidence also comes from the failures that build that thick skin, that build the knowledge, that build the perspective. And that's going to be something that we rarely talk about, that confidence really comes from the failures.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. I'm curious your take on balancing all the learning and the prep work before something happens versus just the doing it, right? Seth Godin just says, just ship it. But other people say, well, you need to know which direction the ship should go at least. And so what's your thought on prep and learning and absorbing all this content? And a lot of times that makes us feel like we're more prepped, but in fact, it's just procrastination. So I'm curious your thoughts on prep versus execution.
I deal with this all the time. I actually just had this conversation prior to jumping on board. I host my group coaching. And one of the things that I was talking about is we're going big. The 12-week year is one of the frameworks that I use with my clients, and we're planning the 12 weeks between now and November. Nice. And I said to them, you got to remember that you can't stay in this place of doing the busy work and also not doing the work that moves you forward. I've been reading, and I think you've mentioned this, the book by Dan Sullivan, 10X rather than 2X. Mm-hmm. And that concept, you have to sit down and evaluate as you're learning. Are you stuck in doing the minutia, or are you going to focus and identify what are the things that are going to move you forward more? So I think that this is the person that's doing the busy work is the person that is scared, and the person that it hasn't normalized that maybe not getting it right is part of the process.
I love this kind of discussion because we're getting to learn a little bit about you through the values that you and your company offer. Do you perhaps have one more opinion that you have that maybe is a little bit different or very specific to what you have to offer?
I think that the biggest opinion that I have that people don't realize is that when you are going forward, your values never change. If your values and if you're being driven by things that, that you want to maybe change, or they can evolve, your values can evolve, but intrinsically we are already hardwired for a lot of different things. We're always going to have certain fears. We're always going to have certain traumas that live with us, and we're not going to be able to turn them off. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people think that, hey, I can change, I can become better. And yeah, we do, but there's always going to be that part of you. And when you don't acknowledge that, then that's when you get into that spiral of imposter syndrome, and really just always being aware of the values that drive you, where you are. And when the things that you're not so proud of show up, say, how can I maybe level up again that 1%? And I think that people forget. And that's certainly something that I've learned from myself and in my own life.
It's easy to think about values when it comes to a company and its mission, its values. Mm-hmm. We see it plastered and we hear about it all the time. Yeah. Less often we hear about values when it comes to people being displayed, and you just displayed several for you. How does one discover the values that they have themselves? Because, and I do love that take of, instead of just trying to be somebody different, like be the best version of the recipe that you're made of, and whatever values that you have, you can be the best version of that. But you need to know what they are. And how does one discover what those values might be? And if they're not sure, how might they take a step forward into learning that?
One of the biggest things that I do to identify where are my values is I look at my calendar. I look at the people that I'm spending time with. I look at the places where I'm spending money. I think that, because we automate our behavior so much, we forget, right? We're not aware of what we're doing, where we're spending our time. And our value system is typically something that we learned as we were little. I love the phrase about having roots and having wings, and giving children root and wings. I know that a lot of my values come from those roots, and my grandparents come from the experiences that I had as a young girl. And then the more that I evolve and change and learn, I started to get my wings to do other things, right? But ultimately, when I spend time with my money, for me, service is very important. And there's a lot of times that in my life that I haven't had a lot of money. But the one thing that I will continue to do is always help to support the causes, right, that are important to me, that leave an impact on the world. And maybe it's not with a big check, but maybe it's with my time. And that's how you can go in back and identify what some of your core values are. Think about what you learned as a child. And there's some things that I learned as a child that didn't serve me, for sure. Did not serve me. However, being aware that that's part of that something programming that's in there can help me work on my wings to get me a little farther away from those things.
Yeah, programming is a good word, because we are in a way coded a certain way based on who we grew up with and who we surround ourselves with, or the city we lived in, et cetera. All those kinds of things become a part of an influence of who we are. What's one of those things that you grew up with that you just later in life knew that you're like, no, that part of me shouldn't kind of be continued forward into the work that I'm doing? Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, I talked about it already. One of the biggest things is failure. I was always told to go high, achieve. Failure is not good. And I think that the first time that I realized failure was good is when I had a really big failure. And I talked about it as well already. I'm a big Yankees fan. And I was speaking to my dad, and I didn't hit a goal. He was my mentor, my business mentor. And I was just like, I cannot believe this happened. And I was just in this really in-depth, depression. Like, I can't believe. And he said, honey, Babe Ruth wasn't Babe Ruth because of his greatness. It was because of the strikeouts that he had. And, my parents divorced when I was little. So I had the ability to be with my dad a lot, but not as much. There were other voices that were always telling me, you have to be number one. You can't fail. You have to be an example to others, etc. So for me, failure is that big saboteur that is always telling me I don't measure up. So I have to go back and remind myself, nope, this is a strikeout. Next one's going to be a home run. And now I know how to hold the bat better. Now I know a little better of how to do this again and continue to keep trying.
Can you go deeper into that piece of advice your dad gave about Babe Ruth, like the fact that the strikeouts are what helped him? Can you go more into that? What was that?
Babe Ruth,
exactly?
and my husband's going to laugh at me because, he's a Red Sox fan. We're a divided household.
Are you serious?
That's kind of why we got married, because, for many years we were rivals. Yeah.
Opposites attract.
Absolutely. Patriots, Giants, Red Sox, Yankees. But the I don't know the number, and I should, but the Babe Ruth had the highest record of strikeouts. And again, you have to have, it's a numbers game when it comes to it, right? The more that he struck out, the more possibility he had of actually having that home run. And I think that
he went for it every time. You mean?
And he went for it every time. And I think that this is where we become so paralyzed by the fear, and rightly so. We're human. We're always going to have that voice that's saying, don't do it. Who are you to think you can point to that side and hit it out of the park? but I'm going to point out there and still do it. And this goes back to the confidence. I think that you're not going to, there's still, I'm sure, 100% that if there was a level of him saying, oh, who am I to think? Yeah, I'm Babe Ruth, and kind of get into that stance and point out there and then swing for it with all his might and remind you. And I'm sure he reminded himself, I practice, I've done this, I can get it, I've done it before. And when he strikes out, well, okay, I got to try it again. That's what you got to keep doing. And for many years, by the way, Pat, that wasn't me, because I was taught that failure was bad. I was something wrong. Something is broken with me.
So
and I didn't necessarily have those words said to me,
right.
But it was the intrinsic message that I received from excel at everything that you do.
So in that analogy, were you hitting singles and doubles because maybe you were just wanting to, at least get to first base?
At least get to first base, right? And I wasn't shooting hard. And I think that this is why I love this book, the 10X concept, because my gosh, if you're going to make the effort, you might as well go for the home run. You might as well hit it out of the park as opposed to just trying to get to first base.
Right.
And I think that that's the difference between success and uber success. And getting to base is great, but then you're relying on somebody else to come again and get you to the second base. Or why not rely on yourself and say, I believe enough in myself, and maybe you won't get that home run, but you have that knowledge like, oh my gosh, that was great. Now, how can I do that better next time? And again, that compounding effect of always working to get to the next place after you try once.
So good. I mean, there's so many great things that could be said about that. And I always love a good sports analogy, and we could go a lot deeper with that. Obviously, it's like, okay,
we could spend all day here.
Yeah,
with sports
no, for
analogies.
real. I mean, great Bambino for sure. Like we could talk about, well, how many people are trying to swing 4 bats at the same time.
And that's true. And by the way, I think that for the first year in my business, I was trying to do it all. I'm like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it wasn't until I said, no, wait a minute. What's going to move me forward the most? And what do I need to concentrate? And by the way, what do I do the best? What do I do the best? And how can I leverage that already intrinsic skill to help me begin to build and be the foundation for everything else?
We're not Ohtani, and we can't pitch and bat and do all the things. Like, we can do I love it. It's so good. Anyway, I want to shift into overtime, if you will.
Yes.
And let's talk about your TED Talk. Like, how do you even get a TEDx talk and land that? Is it an application process? And do you have any tips for like just that component of it?
Okay. So for me, I'll talk about what my journey's been like. And the more that I'm in this world, the more that I realize that there's a big process. And I don't want to say took the shortcut, but I just stayed true to me. Like this was my process. I wasn't going to use somebody else's process. I was just going to do what I do.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to do a TEDx, and in my hometown, there is Hartford. I live in, it's, I guess, my hometown, Hartford, Connecticut.
Hey, I was born in Connecticut, actually.
Oh, you were? Well, we'll
yeah,
have to talk about that.
New London, actually.
Oh, okay. Not too far. We were just there last weekend. When the TEDx happened here in Hartford, I had several people say to me, you need to speak at TEDx. And I thought, ooh, they know my heart. They know me. And one person in particular, her name is Kate. And she is what you call, and I've learned this from you, my super fan. Kate listens to every single episode of my podcast. She cheers me on at everything that I do. And I thought, oh, she believes that I can do this. And I thought, okay. So of course, that was 2021. And I eagerly awaited for the application for TEDx Hartford to come out. And it came out. And in true Julie fashion, the application was due on April 26th, which was my birthday. But I waited until like 3 days before, because I had no idea. Like, I saw the application. I'm like, I can answer the questions. And I just didn't know what I was going to say. And I didn't really know my message, which goes back to what your values are, what you are passionate about, what your purpose is in life. If you really, that voice, what was my message? What is my one thing that I wanted to share in the global stage? But when I applied to that TEDx, not what I'm passionate about, not what I have an opinion on. It was just like answering their question with what I felt they wanted to hear. So rightly so, I got a nice email from the organizer saying, thank you, no thank you. And this was back in, I would say, June of last year. And at that point, I did what many people do. And what I've done in the past when it comes to failure, I'm like, oh, I suck. I can't do this. All right, but they don't want me. Nobody wants me. Forget it. Let's put this back on the shelf. At the beginning of the year, I recalibrated, put TEDx again in my little goal settings for the year. I was going to apply for TEDx and get on TEDx for 2023. And it was about about March that I looked at my goals and I said, I haven't applied, even though this is in my list. And I was speaking to a friend and he said, I've applied to like 80 talks. And I'm like, what? Where do you get time for that? I don't understand. And he's like, I think you should do TEDx in Malden, Australia. Your message would be perfect for them. So he submitted a nomination and then they sent me an email to apply to TEDx in Malden. And then I became a finalist for them. And I thought, oh, they liked what I had to say. And I really stayed true to my message, to who I am, to my values, to what you would call my spicy take on things.
Yeah.
And then TEDx Hartford came on and I applied again with my message, my thought. Now, TEDx in Hartford, the organizers are actually good friends with good friends of mine. And I thought when they called me to say I was a finalist, I thought, oh, this is great. Well, they're good friends of mine and I'm a finalist. I love it. And I felt very excited. And I thought that was going to be it, right? And then I got the email saying, no, thank you. Your message is great and you're a wonderful person, but it doesn't align with what we're talking about. And then I heard there was another TEDx and I thought, okay, I'm going to apply. And I looked at what they are talking about. The theme of the TEDx is the power of inclusion. And then I thought, how does this relate to me? How does it relate to my life? How does this relate to my message? And how can I still share what I feel strongly about, going confidently, using habits to create the action and the behavior that you want? And how can I bring value to this conversation about inclusion? And for me, I've been in the situation. So diversity is kind of like having a party where everybody's invited. Inclusion is actually getting the invitation to dance at that party. But in order for us to dance at any party that we're invited to, we also have the confidence to get out on the dance floor. And I think that when I was in corporate America, and even now with the women entrepreneurs that I help, many of them are invited to the party and have the opportunity to show up, but they don't have the confidence to dance at it because they haven't seen themselves dance. Maybe they don't know, the rhythm of the music. But if they get out there just a little bit and say, oh, this is fun, I'm doing it, then they can start to see the evidence and build the evidence to be more confident, to show up and to bring their gifts, right? Because that's what it's all about when we're being included. There's something that we're bringing to the party that it's a value that perhaps somebody else wants. So that's what my TEDx is about. And I applied and they said, hey, you're a finalist. We're going to have an audition. And the audition process was very hard because
I didn't know it was an audition situation.
Yes. So you have to audition and every TEDx organizer does this differently.
Okay.
When I interviewed for Hartford, it was a one-to-one meeting that I pitched them. I talked to them why I wanted to do TEDx, what my topic was about, what my big idea was. When I did the TEDx that I'm currently doing, they actually had a Zoom meeting in which everybody logged into Zoom. And at first I thought, what? They're going to have us like audition in front of everybody? This is nerve-wracking. But no, it was even more nerve-wracking because they kept us in the Zoom waiting room. And for a few hours waiting for our turn to go. For 3 hours, I sat and I was like, am I good enough? Am I not? And at one point they started to share, hey, this is the next person going first. And I was on the phone with my friend who also applied for TEDx. And he was Googling the people that were going. And he's like, look at this person. And at first I was like, oh no. I don't measure up. How can I ever compete with this person? Oh, forget. And then I thought, stop it. that might be them, but the person that is going to show up and go into this audition is Julie DeLucca-Collins. And there is no other Julie like you, with your experiences, with your passion, with your understanding of what it is to not be included or not have the confidence to get into the dance floor. And you have a voice that matters. And all you can do is show up as the best possible you. And that's what I did. And when I got the news, I was shocked, but I was excited because I think that it proves that when you show up 100% you, and you really know what you're going for, and you stand on the value of your message and you understand who you're delivering your message to, and you make that a little cute marriage, then it's a win-win for everyone.
You went up to bat and you hit a home run.
I did.
That's awesome.
I did. And now I've learned that people apply for like 50, 60, 70 TEDx's, and I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity. But I believe that it's also because I set my sights on something and decided to take that first step.
100%. And so how many days until the TEDx talk happens for you?
It's November 18th.
So a few months away.
It's 3 months away, 4 months, I guess. I'm losing count, but all I know is that September 1st, I have to submit my script. And you have to. I was
going to ask, like, what do they need from you between now and then?
Yeah, so they need a script, and then we have a coach, a speaking coach that works with the finalists,
provided through TEDx.
Through TEDx. So wow. That is one of the. When you get a license to host a TEDx, you have to agree that you will have a speaking coach that is a former TEDx speaker that will coach the people. Yeah. I've been learning a lot. I just interviewed someone for my podcast what a phenomenal woman. She is in Ireland, and she is an organizer for TEDx as well and has done 2 TEDx talks. So I've been learning a lot from her as well. You have to, hit the mark. So of course, as with anything that I do that I don't know how to do, and I could not go to Pat Flynn for this one, I had to go in and find out, like, okay, what is the outline for the TEDx talk? Because there is a specific outline you have to hit. So I did that. I went ahead and I'm like, okay, I think I can do that. And I just made a little Instagram story about this last night because I've been working on writing my TED Talk, and because the script is due on the 1st, by the way, but not only is that due on the 1st, but I promised my SPI mastermind that tomorrow I will practice my TEDx talk in front of them.
Oh, good for you.
But I have not written the talk yet. So I needed to kind of like, okay, I need to and every night I've been coming to my office after dinner to write the talk, and I've been staring at a blank screen and a blank piece of paper. And then I thought, Julie, let's get this done. And I thought, okay, well, what do I do best? How can I do this? I thought, oh, wait a minute. I'm going to just say the talk. I'm going to have the outline in front of me of what I'm supposed to be hitting. So I opened up Loom and I looked at the outline and I did my TEDx, and now I have a little guide, and I'm going to go in, fix that script. And that's what I'm doing. And tomorrow in the Vanilla Mastermind with my friend Ben Ye, who is a friend of yours, I will be practicing my TEDx.
That's amazing. And hopefully as the date approaches, you give us updates inside of Pro on how it's going. And I hope there's a way, there will be a way, obviously, that we can watch that later. So that'll be awesome. And hopefully we'll have a way to get a link once that's live.
Thank you. I'm excited. And by the way, we are not allowed to tape it ourselves. We were part of the agreement that we made is that when you deliver your talk, you cannot have anyone record you, and you cannot release it until the official TEDx video is released.
This is like serious stuff.
Yeah. And also the other thing is that you have to have some sort of research that kind of backs up your claim to what your opinion or your take is. And I noticed, because I do watch a lot of TED Talks, is that there's some that there is a disclaimer in some of them that will say that there is no research to back this claim. And TED will do that. So I thankfully, using the research from Dr. BJ Fogg, because I am a Tiny Habits coach, and that's one of the things that I love, and I love his work. And I believe, and this is one of the things that we talk about, that behavior design, our new behavior comes from being able to not, motivation sometimes is not there, but we need the anchor moment to do that reminds us to do the thing. We need to also have that prompt, and all of that will, the more that you do it, create the motivation. And then once you do the behavior, then you begin to feel confident.
That's amazing. The last question I want to ask you is, what is your goal coming out of the TEDx talk? Obviously, TEDx is a goal and you're about to achieve that, and that is amazing. I know that it can present a lot of new opportunities for a person. Is there anything in particular that you are looking forward to as a result of the TEDx talk, or what doors would you like to see opened, perhaps, is the question?
Okay, so yes, there are going to be a lot of opportunities. I'm in the process of, I wrote a book. I'm writing a second book. I have been doing speaking engagements as well. That will continue to grow, I'm sure, for TEDx. I have
Definitely.
2 opportunities that have come up from that.
Amazing.
But the one thing that I really want to take from TEDx is I work with some incredible women who have a phenomenal, more compelling message than I do, but they're terrified or scared and don't know maybe the path to go forward and go there. So I want to continue to bring others along with me for this ride. I have some incredible women who I mentor and coach who are maybe in the cusp of putting their message out there through a podcast, and we continue to support them in that. So I want to be able to have the opportunities or the relationships that I can say, hey, I know that you reached out to me and I'd love to collaborate with you, but how about collaborating with her too? Because she's got a great message. So that's the other thing that I'm hoping this will allow me to do.
I love it. I have no doubts that you'll get there. And like I said, I think I speak for everybody on our team at SPI, and of course all the other pro members. Just, we're super proud of you. We're inspired by you. We look forward to watching the talk when it's out.
Thank you, Pat, for all you have done. And thank you so much for the SPI community. It is a home. It's one of my internet homes. And I know that any win or any loss, I can come and celebrate there, because it is the community where people come in to just learn and grow together, which are part of my value system.
Thank you so much, Julie. We appreciate you. Why don't you tell everybody where they can go to follow your work? And if you're a woman listening and you're looking for a coach, perhaps, Julie might be a great candidate for you. Where can they go to find out more?
Okay, so it is easy. GoConfidentlyCoaching.com. It is my website, and you can see a little bit more about our programs and everything that we offer. I would love for people to check out Casa de Confidence, where myself and #HandsomeHotHusband is our podcast. And we bring you stories of amazing women going confidently in the direction of their dreams. And by the way, we also host some cool dudes, so you can check those episodes out too. And I'm Julie DeLucca-Collins on all of the platforms.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate you. Good luck on the talk, and we'll chat on the other end of it.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
All right. I hope you really enjoyed that conversation as much as I did with Julie. This is session 715 of the Smart Passive Income podcast. And if you want to check out all the links and everything, and if you're listening to this after November or December or whenever the publication of her TEDx video goes live, we'll link to it and hopefully make it easy for you to access after it happens over on our show notes page at smartpassiveincome.com/session 715. Again, smartpassiveincome.com/session 715. And lastly, like, my favorite thing to think about here is just the quality of the people like Julie that we have inside of our communities at SPI Pro. I mean, these people are service-based people. Not all have service-based businesses, but they are here to serve each other and other people. And that's what is amazing about the kind of people that we attract here at SPI. We have those kinds of people on our team. We have those people in our audience. And you are likely one of those people too. And if you want to connect with other people like them, definitely check out our community, smartpassiveincome.com/all access, if you want to get access to all of our courses. But if you want some higher level access and some mastermind placing, just like what Julie's a part of inside of SPI, check out spipro.com. Anyway, that's my little plug for that. Thank you, Julie. Good luck to you, and looking forward to truly watching your talk when it comes out. TEDx, congratulations. Huge win for you and the community. And I look forward to catching up with you later. And I look forward to catching up with you in the next episode, which is going to come out shortly. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And again, smartpassiveincome.com/session 715. for all the links and notes and to Julie's website. Again, goconfidentlycoaching.com. And if superfan Katie's also listening, hello to you too. Cheers. Thanks so much. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. Our senior producer is David Grabowski, and our executive producer is Matt Gartland. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media and a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network. Catch you next week. I get it. You want to grow your business, but selling at scale feels overwhelming. You're drowning in complicated funnels, creating different lead magnets, or constantly posting on social media. And that gets exhausting fast, especially when you're trying to sell to hundreds or thousands of people. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? A score app quiz or assessment asks your audience key questions and gives them instant personalized results based on their answers. Your audience gets to know where they are now and shows them the steps they need to hit their goals. You can set up a quiz in minutes using Score App's templates and have a powerful lead magnet that'll do the selling for you. The best part is your audience actually wants to take this quiz, and you build huge amounts of trust before you even make a single offer. No hard sales, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. Just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. And from there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.